ahead and get started. We're a little bit early, but we're not too early. We've got a lot of people here. So I just wanted to say welcome. My name is Heather Wilson. I work at the Cameron Art Museum, and I am so excited to get to have this conversation with Greyson Davis today. I've been excited about it for the last 2 weeks. We love working with Greyson at the Cameron Art Museum. He is often a teaching artist for us, and we can't wait to get him back in the museum. He's better known in the art community as HP Fangs, and I want to ask about that in a little bit. He's a Wilmington, North Carolina-based illustrator, but he was born in Hawaii. He's from Hawaii. One of the things that I love about Greyson is Greyson obviously has a big heart. He has worked as a social worker, as a trauma counselor. He's worked as a behavioral specialist. He worked as a foster parent or trainer. He teaches art at Glow now, but that's not all he does. He was the art director for the End Racism Now installation that just finished. Just was installed on Saturday, and he spent a lot of time over the pandemic creating chalk art, promoting his smile and destroy attitude across town during the pandemic. I'm really excited to get to talk to you today, Greyson.
Oh, there's stuff happening on my screen and I don't know what to do.
I know, it's okay. I'm going to stop the share for just a minute so we could just see your face. I always like to, uh-oh, you went away. There you are.
No, I'm here.
I was like, no, don't leave us to get started. I always like to ask people when we're starting out, when you started creating art. Like, when did you know that that was something that was important to you?
I mean, I don't know. I get asked that question pretty often. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I was a kid and it became important to me when classes got boring and I wanted something to do while the teacher was talking. No, wait, I got students in here. No, that is not an accurate statement. No, art had just kind of always been something that, it was like an anchor for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
well said.
My brain is a traveling circus at any given moment. And unless like I have a way to like put it down on something, it will travel without me.
I completely understand. Yeah, no, I love that. I'm going to think about that. Art as an anchor. I've never thought about it in that way. So you're also a person, like I said earlier, with a really big heart. And it's interesting to me how you've melded these two passions that you have for art and also making a difference in the world into your art. So I wondered if you could talk a little bit about that, what motivates you to create art with a message, and how you think art and social justice intersect for you.
So I guess to be like 100% fair to things and honest, I don't know if I had started creating art with the intention of a message behind it. When I really first started doing art, I was drawing like doodles of like butts. So I would do like video game, like I drew a picture of like Kermit biting Miss Piggy's butt, just very immature things that I thought were hilarious and kept me laughing. But I think as kind of you start to grow as a person, and things become more relevant to you, these past, I want to say, 5 years have been a substantial awakening for me. I used to be a music artist, and in my music, I would, it was 100% based off of what kind of like the cultural climate was and what racism looked like, but kind of all like satirically as I moved into Wilmington and you know, became, you know, the only one in a whole avalanche of majorities. And the name of the group was Brownco, and we came up with the name Brownco. We were literally, we were 19, 20, I don't know. But we went to some college party, and there was a girl in my class who I was talking to her. I wasn't trying to hit on her. We were just talking. And I guess the guy who was trying to hit on her like leaned into her ear. Oh my God, it's so ridiculous. He leans in her ear and he says, "Loud enough so I can hear it," but like trying to be sneaky about it. "You're not down with the brown, are you? Because white is right." And in that moment, I probably should have been like consumed with like hate and disgust, but it was the most ridiculous thing that I had ever heard. And so like I like bawled out laughing, and I ran to my homeboy and I was like, "Yo, can you believe what this clown just said?" And so we were getting ready to do a show and we needed a collective name. So we went with, oh, Brown Coat, because we're always the Brown Company in these parties. And so it had first become this like real tongue-in-cheek like approach to just kind of at its core how ridiculous racism is. Just at a base level, it's dumb. And you know, then I moved into doing visual arts, and as I got more serious about creating art, it was just, you know, things were like real life things were starting to happen to me. You know what I mean? I I'd faced a lot of, you know, just a lot of instances from racism, and just, it was a lot, and it just started coming out in my art. And I think, go for it.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I would love to hear you talk about you know, you grew up in Hawaii, and then you moved here for college. I'd love to hear what that transition was like for you, and what it was like to move to the American South, and to move to Wilmington. When did you start college?
Uh, a while ago.
A while ago.
I have students on here, and it's a whole big thing
Okay,
about me
I got
never
it.
telling them my age. But I started college a while ago. So I think that was kind of the best thing to ever happen to me, and it for sure framed like how I kind of see the world. I, you know, grew up in Hawaii, but all my family was from Jersey City. So, you know, my mom, her job required her to like not be home a lot. So there was times when I was younger, this Japanese family spent a lot of time raising us. So I grew up with like well, we called her Aunt Connie, but like I grew up with her and her family for like most of my younger years. And then as we got older, we were going back to Jersey. And in Jersey, you know, I grew up around like primarily like Black, Hispanics, Indians. And so I like my whole framework for what the world is was just, it's this melting pot. And I had never really been around white people. I've heard about them. Like they were like this myth that like you never go into those caves because, you know, that's where the danger is. And so finally I moved to Fayetteville when I started high school, Fayetteville, North Carolina. And again, predominantly Black neighborhood. Then I come to UNCW and got okie doked because my orientation was with the Black Student Union, those sneaky devils. Not the Black Student Union, UNCW. So I'm like, oh, word, like, this is home. And then finally, when they set me free in the wild, I was in all these classes where I found myself being like, for the first time in my life, I was like, yo, I'm the only Black person here, and there's nothing but white people. And I'm going off of what I had been told kind of about white people. And I think my first instant was I got called, I was playing club football, and you know, this guy called me. I mean, he just dropped the N-bomb on me. And my guttural reaction, like it was the first time anybody had used it to me, at me, with the intent of like taking me out of my way. And my first reaction was to hit him. Like, I'm not a violent person. I'm not a person who get egged into a fight very easily. But it was like I heard it, and that was just an immediate response. And then not too long after that, I had a girl who was sitting next to me. I had just started this class, like move her table. Like we were sitting at these lab tables. So everybody was at two to a table. And she had like moved her seat to another table that already had two. And the guy in front of me turned around and was like, dude, that's effed up. Ha 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 ha. And even that seemed like insincere. And so at this point, I'm already like, yeah, white people, y'all trash. You know, I'd heard that, and this is how I felt about it immediately. And I was ready to leave UNCW. I was ready to leave UNCW because I was like, this is not like, I'm not built for this. I'm not having it. And you know what I mean? Like, this will not be successful for me or anybody who continues to call me outside of myself for who I am. Until I met this guy from the campus radio station. And that's how old I am. Campus had a radio station when I was there. Did that answer the question? Hopefully that answered the question.
I'm like, wait, they don't have radio stations anymore? That's how old I am. I mean, whoa. Keep going.
But no, so I was used to sit outside I lived in the campus apartments, and I was reading this book, Amazing Grace. And this guy, again, there's a payphone in the courtyard. This guy comes to use a payphone. It's all a white dude. And it obviously wasn't working. I had a cordless phone, so I asked him if he wanted to use it. Comes in, he sees all these posters of all these rappers and graffiti artists, and then he tells me about like stuff that he was into. I go back to his room. He was a DJ, he had a turntable set up, so we played with that for a little bit. Then he tells me about the campus radio station, and like, yo, I swear it was like all the lights and the angels had started falling from the sky when I walked into WLOZ, and it was just like this space where it was just a ton of different people, kind of all like, you know, United Nations of like punk music, and it was dope, and that kind of opened me up to where I was used to just almost every other culture. I saw a different type of white than what was like previously prescribed to me.
You're so eloquent and you're so articulate and honest about your experience. It's really interesting. And so I'd like to hear more about what happened next. So you got involved with campus radio, and that led to the beginning of a career in music. Is that what happened next?
I think oh God, I don't know how to drink water. I'm sorry. Like to this day, I still credit WLOZ to every success that I've ever, oh shoot, excuse me, that I've ever had. Because I learned so much. I learned how to understand different people. And music is just kind of one of those things that, you know, it's like a siren song. It drags you into it, and it drags you outside of yourself and into, you know, this body of sound. And when you start listening to different music, like I was open up to folk music, I was open up to like different types of punk music. I was just opened up to so much. And then when you open yourself up to a music, or you open yourself up to an art form, you open yourself up to its audience. So now audiences start looking different to me. So now when audiences look different to me, I get the opportunity to learn more. And, you know, from learning comes growing, from growing, you know, becomes being a tree with apples on it, I guess. I don't know. But, and that's where it helped me to stay in UNCW for sure. Cause I would have left UNCW immediately. But it also, knowing how I came into UNCW and then working through the radio station, I had also started to get into a lot of other things. Like I became part of the Black Student Union. I joined the Minority Recruitment Club. I started putting my hands deeper and deeper into UNCW so that like my experience wouldn't be the experience of other people.
And so there's this way in which art was a catalyst for personal growth and change for you, in a really powerful way, bringing you closer to your community. And I think that's really amazing. I'd love to share the screen and talk about some of your visual art again.
Go for
it. Tell us about Smile and Destroy. What is Smile and Destroy?
Smile and Destroy is I don't like to revel in my own like anger or kind of my, I guess, base emotions, or not that I don't feel these things. And I think people get the impression that I don't. Or like, how could you not be angry about this? How could you not be sad about this? And the fact is, like, I do. I am a wildly emotional dude. And there have been times that, there's been very seldom times that I've acted out of anger or hatred. And in every one of those instances, it almost costs me my life or somebody else's. And so with Smile and Destroy, it had started with just the fact that, like, I just love smiles. Smiling is dope. It is like, it's the dopest thing a person can do. You can't, nobody hates smiling, right? Like, you could be meanest dude on the block. I don't care how many rebel flags you're waving. I don't care, like, how much thugging you're doing. Put an ice cream cone in your hand. Put an ice cream cone in your hand, and I dare you to not smile, because it's enjoyable. But the idea behind Smile and Destroy was, yes, there will always be something put in front of you that seeks to take it away from you, always. And you have an option, right? Like, you can give in to, some of the more vitriolic emotions and let that consume you, and then just become like this rot of a person who just permeates that out. And it's harder to get things accomplished because nobody makes smart decisions in anger. Nobody makes a smart decision when they're upset, right? Like, and I'm not about to give somebody the power to take away my smile. It is my favorite thing to do. Like, what I look like giving you somebody who tried to not make me happy, what I look like giving you that? No, like, I will smile and destroy everything. So anything that I approach, and when I talk to my students, when I have conversations with my daughter, when I have conversations with strangers, like, don't get mad, do something about it. Like, but whatever it is that you do about it, make sure it's not only a necessary action, but you are putting something that you love. You are using whatever it is, whatever your superpower is. Yeah. You are using that to make that necessary action so you can smile as you do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, man, like, it's just a hard road.
Yeah.
Like, walking up a hill in like mud-filled boots.
Greyson, what's your superpower?
Man, I don't know. The inability to take anything seriously, probably both a superpower and a kryptonite. I don't, again, like I said, I am at all points. I keep wanting to look at who's participating, and I'm actively not.
Yeah. One of your students just said that your superpower, I'm assuming she's a student, she said that your superpower is being dope. But someone else says, oh, she's a coworker, I'm sorry.
Aaron Jones
says always being positive is your superpower.
Like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if you've ever watched The Muppet Show, like, in its like original iteration. So if you'd ever watched The Muppet Show, like, on stage is always one thing, but in the back there's like Scooter with a clipboard trying to corral all of these wild animals with like dynamite and trying to eat everybody, and Kermit freaking out. That's what the inside of my head looks like every freaking minute of the day. And if I had to say what my superpower was, it would probably, I don't know. I still don't have an answer.
I think everybody else has answers for you. Here's another answer. Your love of youth is your superpower.
Oh man, kids are my jam because they understand me. I haven't mentally progressed past being 12. So that's why that relationship works.
Greyson, I wonder if you could talk about this awesome billboard. Where is it? What's going on here? How did it happen? Just tell us a story about Love Unity Forever.
So it was an immediate response to that abomination of a billboard that was put up downtown not too long ago, advertising, I don't know, some some clown for some seat. And it was myself, Councilman Spears, because Councilman Spears was like, nah, we can't let that ride. And like kind of hitting me, I was like, yeah, well, we're definitely not gonna let that ride. And my co-partner, Jana, who's always kind of like trying to find like opportunities to integrate art into everything, and Gray Vic, I believe his last name. And congratulations to him, because he just had a daughter. He just had a daughter, like brand new in the world. But anyway, so when that sign went up, I was like, all right, well, whatever his name is, 2020, Wilmington for, I don't know, stupidity 2020. And I was like, nah, well, how about this? Love, unity, forever. I don't get into like political diatribe and debates over whatever, but love, unity is not political, right? That is not, there's nothing political about it. And forever means exactly that, forever. And I was real hyped that we had planned to put one right under that sign, but this one got put up right across from, I want to say it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, I had gotten very viciously attacked. It was racially motivated, and probably, could have lost my life behind it. Almost lost my life behind it. Definitely lost some teeth, like 14 stitches. Like put a whole hand under my lip. Had some damage to my eye, and one of the guys involved was he was a former cop at the time. It was a former cop and some of his buddies, and like they beat the brakes off of me for no other reason than me being beautifully black. And there was a trial. I don't know how much I'm allowed to go in this, but everybody was absolved somehow. Everybody was absolved from that. So in the eyes of the state, this never happened, but I got stitches in my lip that remind me every day that it happened. And so that billboard is right across from where it happened. So where it happened has to look at that billboard every day. And that couldn't have ended any better for me. I mean, I'm lost, so that's super dope, but.
That's just such a testament to your resiliency and your strength, Greyson. And I think that's one of the things that makes you such a fantastic artist and a fantastic teacher. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I want to talk about something that's brand new. You guys, the opening Saturday for the End Racism Now installation. I'd like you first just to tell me about this installation, who the artists were that you worked with, and then we'll talk a little bit more about how it came about and how you, I think, used your smile and destroy attitude, right? Your positive attitude to make what could have been a very disappointing situation. You ran with it to create something really beautiful.
I mean, it's there. That thing is there now. I guess I don't know where would you like me to start with, from the process, or just
tell us about the process.
About it in general.
Yeah, tell us about the process and the artists involved.
I don't know, man. The process was like 3 months of getting kicked in the nethers with like a spiked bat. So the Jana Siegel Robertson and Cedric Harrison from Support the Port. It was my best friend's birthday on June 10th. Jana Siegel and Cedric Harrison had sent me a text, and they were like, "Yo, we're gonna put together a proposal for a Black Lives Matter mural, and we want you to be the artist. Like, we want you to be the art director." And I was, oh man, like my heart jumped out of my chest, did a couple backflips, blew some bubbles, and it's a bit. I mean, it's a big thing. It's a huge thing to me. It's a huge statement for me personally, and kind of working with my own traumas, and not even just, you know, what I talked about prior, but like I've seen and have experienced a lot. So for me, this was like an opportunity to kind of own pieces of myself that were taken away from me prior. So of course I was 100% in. I was like, yo, let's do it. Let's get this proposal popping. And then with the help of Councilman Spears, he kind of put batteries in our back, and we went in with the proposal for the street mural, and they were like, nah, son. And then, you know, Charlie Ryburn barking, everybody was like, oh, it's racist, all lives matter, and such a ridiculous statement. And it was just constant blowback. You know, it was just met with so much opposition for something that should have been a no-brainer. Wilmington is entrenched in just the grossest of like racist history, from just the burning of Shell Island, the 1898 massacre, incarceration at a Wilmington 10, currently cops inciting race riots, Charlie Rivenbark, professors at UNCW. There was like the entire scope of Wilmington is oppressive and racist. That's what we are known for best nationally. So nationally, we are known for the worst racial atrocities. So the idea that here's your opportunity to kind of change the narrative for your city and to extend arms to the people who built your city, for the people who like support your city, for, you know what I mean, for the people who bled in your city, put hands in your city, for the people like who you love their music but don't invite their company. Here's an opportunity for you to change all of that, and you've got the daggone cojones to be like, nah, I don't know if we're ready to say Black Lives Matter. So we had to deal with a lot of that, and then ultimately they tried to give us this little slither of land where nobody would have saw it. Where nobody would have saw it. There would have never been traffic. They may as well just spit in the air and drop kicked it. And then Councilman Spears was kind of like, well, let's do signs. And you know, it was like, well, let's make some signs. And so the signs morphed into kind of what you see now. And then I remember getting a text from Jana saying, okay, I think we made some headway, but it'll have to say Black Lives Do Matter. And I immediately was like, no, not at all. Because for number one, this process for me was already learning how to engage politically. And I'm not for asking for permission to do the things that I want to do, especially when my blood and my hands are a part of it. You know what I mean? I don't do asking for, it's just not me. Like if I feel something, I don't need your permission, I'm going to do it. Or if I'm not doing it your way, I will find another way to do it, but believe I'm going to do it. And with this, it was a bit of a learning experience because I got told, no, I can't do it by people who, and not everybody, but by some people who don't even seek to try to understand why we would want this to happen.
Yeah.
I got the Black Lives Do Matter, and I was not for it. And I had to sit down with myself for a little bit, and I had to kind of think outside of just myself. And, you know, I've told a couple of people this before, and, you know, it'd come down to two people, or not to two people, but two people in terms of like different generations. So like I had to think about like my grandfather, who like in his time, he's like, and that's only 2 generations away. You know what I mean? He's been fighting his entire life for the minimalist of rights. I mean, I can't even begin to name all the things without like working myself up. And the idea of me having to say, hey, grandpa, because me and my grandpa are tight. It's important to know that like that is like my real life hero. I couldn't fathom the idea of saying, hey, grandpa, I was in this fight for a couple of months and I had an opportunity to start change, to make a little bit of history, but then I said no, because things didn't go my way. He would have smacked the Colgate right out of my face. And it would have been, and rightfully so, because that would have been so disrespectful to everything that he's worked for. Yes, this doesn't solve every problem. This doesn't like, you know, heal every wound, but like, how do I look at this man who's been trying to progress, been fighting for progression, who's been constantly stepped on, stomped on, who's like fought for a country that didn't care for him, and then say, no, it didn't go my way. And then thinking about my daughter, who like semantics don't mean a thing to her. You know what I mean? Like she's not worked up over, and I won't say trivial because that's definitely devaluing, but she's not worked over, well, it should have said this, but it says this. What she sees is that like 10-foot tall, 130-foot long sign that says Black Lives Do Matter, with all of this artwork that reflects, my daughter's biracial, so it reflects all pieces of her, right? So, and the hope there is that, well, look, you saw I could get this far, now you can take the next step. So, I mean, what this was, look, we tried to shoot for the 3, got fouled, and hit 2 from the line, but that's still putting points on the board. And it, man, oh, excuse me. So this particular part of the journey, I fought with myself a lot, because I still understand why it's not acceptable. I still understand why Black Lives Do Matter is different than Black Lives Matter. And, you know, I was going through all this, like, am I causing division amongst the same people I'm fighting alongside? Because that in itself is also not the goal. That in itself is also not the goal. But again, you know, the more I think about it, like I had to get out of that myopic scope. And if you have the opportunity to make change, and you have the opportunity to make history, you are not allowed to pull away from that. You make as much history and as much change as you can make, and leave the lane open for somebody else to continue to make more. Because, you know, we're all swords on the battlefield here. Like I swing my sword one way, the next person in the fight is going to swing their sword another way, and all of that is necessary. Like each person in this fight, each faction in this fight, each attitude in this fight is absolutely necessary. So we shouldn't be going against. That's why there's an Aquaman in the Justice League. That's why there's a Batman. That's why there's a Superman. That's why there's a Wonder Woman. Like, everybody laughs because Aquaman talks to fishes, but like, let something go down and like they need Aquaman. I don't know if that would make me like Aquaman, but I mean, I'll take it. Swimming is cool and I like sharks a lot. But it's, you know, you need a collection. You need a collective fight. One frame of thinking ain't gonna get it. One frame of thinking is the reason why there's so much oppression and racism in the country right now. They over there
Yeah.
with the one-way thinking. We can't be over here with the one-way thinking. So there's that. Sorry, I get lively.
Grayson, that was incredible. And I want to go back to something that you said that it affected me so deeply. I wrote it down. You said that doing this installation allowed you to own pieces of yourself that were taken away before.
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
an incredible thing to say. And just as someone who works, with art, I feel like that's what art gives us, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't have to talk about the specifics of that. But I wondered if you could just talk about that phrase a little bit.
Well, and I can only speak to that like personally, right? Like the overall goal with this, and I'll get to what you're saying. I hope if my brain doesn't run away, but I think it's important to acknowledge that so this, it's not the end. Like my hope was that this inspires the next person to continue to do more. For me, doing this, I've had cops put guns to my faces. I've been pulled out of a car. I've been beat for the color of my skin. I've lost opportunities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hold on. Technical difficulties. Woo! And I see that every day, right? Imagine seeing your murderer every day in every situation. Imagine seeing the person who seeks to end your existence, who wants nothing but your utter destruction. And it sounds so dramatic, but it's not, right? So imagine having to see that every day. And I know I'm not alone in this, imagine having to see that every day. It never stops. It's on permanent repeat. It is on permanent repeat. I never stop seeing it. So a lot of that smile and destroy and big smiles, it's something that I have to do. So putting this up, and in the moment that I got to put it up with these artists of different backgrounds, different styles, different trajectories of positive social interaction, it felt like getting the pieces of me back. Like I was putting together this Rubik's Cube, where it was just there's a whole bunch of purple, blue, and white on this side, but all the orange was back here. And now I'm starting to center all the orange one way, and what other, I don't know what other colors are in a Rubik's Cube, and I've never successfully put one together in my entire life, so I don't know why this is an analogy that I chose to use, but I'm using it and I'm committing to it. So it felt like, I hate the fact that it's a corny thing to say hope and hopefulness and all of that, but it is one of the first times I felt hopeful for and in Wilmington was in putting this up. And I don't think there will ever be any replicated feeling like that. Yeah.
Incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I wanted everyone to see a close up. It's not the whole thing, but you can see part of. Now, did you just do one letter? Is that?
Yeah. So I worked with a bunch of artists, and we each did everybody did their own letter, and how that worked out was we put out a call to action to a bunch of different artists and got there was so much dope art that came through. Having to choose which artists were where and did what, was, I would never want to be a judge on America's Got Voice Talent singer songs. I don't know the names of those shows, Dancing with the Stars, whatever. But like, it felt like having to be that. And every time, like, I don't know. Anyway, I say that to say there was a bunch of dope artists who came through. And as I was like selecting artists, most of which I didn't know until this moment, I saw rough drafts of what they did. So I saw a piece of the vision. And then, you know, I kind of asked everybody, well, in the proposal Dan and I wrote, having why you want to be a part of this project was a really big thing for me. Because I needed to know, like, are you just looking to like get your art out there, or are you looking to like really be a part of something larger? Like, and prior to this, what have you done? Like, prior to this, what's been your contribution to the places where you live? And it returned a bunch of dope art. You know, there's, I don't know how to talk about any piece in particular, but some of the groups that we worked with were teachers and students of Rachel Freeman, just because I'm big on involving youth in the projects, because that's where we're going to start to see major changes. Because they're, for the most part, they're all past the ugliness of like terrible adults. Like, they can see through like all the BS we've been so stuck and bitter about, you know, for years. And I think that happens a little less with, you know, every generation. You know, like, I come from a generation that wasn't too keen on, you know, white folk, and I wasn't too keen on them either at first. And, you know, you live, you learn. And so, yeah, so children. So we had Glow Academy, Art Club Girls did a letter, Dreams did a letter, art students at CFCC did a letter, and just kind of like Josh Saney, Justin Slay. There's one piece that's, I think, is really personal to Wilmington, Courtney Maddox. Her piece was just kind of spot on for Wilmington. Like, what Wilmington feels like right now, her letter embodies that. You know, and just other artists, there's just really amazing pieces. Like, every artist that was a part of this was a part of it because they were the right person. They were the right artist. Their art was exactly kind of what we would hope to kind of, I don't know words, put out there.
Yeah, it's incredible. And Grayson, where can people learn more about the artists? You guys have a website?
Oh yeah, we have a website. You can go to 18 Forward, spelled out as is. There's no funky spelling to it. It's just 18forward.com.
Okay, and tell me what 18 Forward means.
So 18, all right. So 18 Forward, like, as we're kind of like building this team. We were trying to come up with something, and I think Jana was trying to build an email address and was like, well, I need you to come up with something. And I, like, straight up, to everything I love. Like, I was on my way to a therapy appointment. And like had to come up with like something. And so the idea was, I was like, all right, so I'll make it real practical, and it is what it is. The project was approved, August 18. Instead of the 16 letters for Black Lives Matter, it became the controversial 18 letters for Black Lives Matter. And the idea was that, like, even though like we have to lay on these 18 letters, that doesn't stop the progression of what we are trying to do as artists, as a group, and like our own personal mission. Like, this isn't the last time you'll see these artists, you know? So it's just this 18 and forward from there. There's just no subtleties. It's
That's
very
awesome.
cheesy, and it's very wordy.
I love it.
That's what it is.
I love it. I wanted to, and I know I want to make sure that we have time for everybody to ask you some questions, but I'm a big fan of Franklin. And one of the images you sent me today Grayson sent me all these amazing images and I had to choose, and we'll try to talk quickly so we have time for everyone to ask questions. But I wanted you to talk to me a little bit about what's going on in this image.
All right, so I don't know who's here, but if you're white, this is what your black friend looks like. This is what he feels like. It's just a sea of faceless yous and them freaking out because you don't see them, right? Like racism looks like a lot of things, and we think about it and immediately it's, you know, lynching or violent crimes. Racism is also having a black coworker, a black friend, or a person of color in your life, but you don't invest in their life, because 99% of the time when I've been in those groups, it's always, hey, let's go do this thing. Let's go watch an episode of Friends, or I don't know, have a conversation about Ugg boots, or go to a brewery, which are not traditionally like black things. And it started to feel like the only time I would be able to have like my soul fed is when I was hanging out with my black friends. And that if you're really a friend to your person of color, your person who's in your group, you need to step outside of those things that you normally do and engage in things that they also do, because this is what we feel like.
Yeah. Well
all
said.
the time, like just freaking panicked, and y'all aren't trying to see that.
Yeah.
But you think you're cool because you got a black friend in your group and you're down to say, yeah, it's my black friend, and then make like ridiculous black jokes. And like when a rap song comes on, go like, ah, you know.
Well
That's where that piece came from.
Well
I just always identified with Franklin. Like
Yeah.
I was like, yo, fam, I see you. Because he's always like, I think I'm going too far in this, but like on any of the Peanuts movies or the comic strips. So this, like Charles Schultz is one of my like idols, but Franklin was only used in context of breakdancing, basketball, baseball, sports, or music. Like that was his only role in the friend group. And you know, if you watch movies, you watch television shows, you look in your own circles, it's, you know, it's the same thing, and it's hella unfair. That is also what racism looks like.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Okay. You got to talk to us about Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
RBG! I mean, there's not, what do I say that's not to be said? She's a boss.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love
She's
it.
a boss.
Talk to me about this one. This is so powerful.
Bullets don't make friends. I made that design, and honestly, this is so unfair and kind of telling, but like, there was a shooting a couple years ago, and I don't even remember which one because there's so many. And I would see people make all these arguments about like whether you should have guns, whether you shouldn't have guns, and like guns are like, you need a gun for safety. And I'm not opposed to like having a gun in your home. Like so I was in the military, and I think I fired every weapon that's available. And you know, it's kind of cool, but like, don't kid yourself. Like bullets ain't here to make friends. You're not protecting yourself. A bullet has one job. And to say that it serves any other purpose, you are lying to yourself, and in that lie, you become an irresponsible gun owner.
Yeah.
Like bullets don't make friends.
Yeah.
Period.
Grayson, it's been so fun to talk to you. I want to open it up to everybody who's here, because you've got a bunch of your fans here, and I know they're all dying to ask you questions. I could keep talking to you. I could just keep listening to you talk, because it's amazing to hear about your art, and I have more questions for you, but I wanted to see if anybody has a question in the chat box. Send me a question and I will read it to Grayson. Grayson, you have a lot of comments that I'd like to to read to you. Andy says, this is back to your superpower. Andy says, his resilient ability to put joy back into the world. That's a pretty amazing superpower.
Thanks. I hope that's what I'm doing.
Let's see. Roger says, there are some who believe that Black people are like the pupil of the eye, and that it is the pupil that reflects the light that allows us to see. It is the pupil that gives us vision. Thanks, Regular, for reflecting your vision, for allowing us to see.
Whoa, that was deep. I'm gonna tattoo that on my butt.
Right? I'm still laughing about white people having conversation about Ugg boots.
Or I don't know, pumpkin spice stuff. It's fall. Y'all know what y'all talk about. That's not fair.
It's funny. Amber said, oh, here comes a message. Oh, Jen says, I really are, and hopefully you won't quit. Amber says, I think the installation is still effective and exceedingly powerful, even though I think we all know why it had to include the do. That fact is going to raise some questions for people, Black, white, and all backgrounds, and hopefully start some meaningful conversations about values. If folks are really paying attention, they are going to ask why, which is getting them to think critically, which is good. It's a great way of looking at it.
Well, and can I also add this? The do doesn't change the sentiment unless you allow it to. Yeah. Like, yes, I mean, in solidarity, like the pervasive statement has been like Black Lives Matter, but the sentiment behind that, you know, behind the jargon, behind the semantics is the value, right?
Yeah.
So if you were that strong in your convictions that Black lives in fact matter, whether it says do matter, whether it says will matter, it's still the same. If you decide that it means something different, that's an issue you need to sit with yourself about. Like you can't allow two letters to take away the entire. I mean, I don't even know how to approach it. It's just the sentiment doesn't change unless you allow it to.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got 3 questions for you from some of our attendees. From Amber. Right. She says, thank you for this session. You've made me smile. Here's my question. Do you keep your social activist art separate from other work, or does all of your work carry a social message? How can white artists make work about Black lives in a way that is honest and ethical? Any ideas? Great question.
Woo, girl, you were tap dancing on dangerous grounds, but here's what I say. I don't keep my, there is some art that I don't post. There's just some art that I don't post. This is very personal. It's in, I don't know, like, I don't know if the world is ready to know what my brain really looks like sometimes. As a white artist, what I can encourage, as any artist, so let's, white, Black, whatever, as an artist, you, whether genre painting or singing, tap dancing, juggling jelly beans, whatever it is, do what is inside your head. Whatever you felt in your heart that sent the message to your brain and takes that to your hands, you put that on canvas and be willing to stand by what you did. Because I think that's what's important. Because you're not always going to hit jackpot. You're going to do something with the best of intent and somebody's going to like misconstrue the meaning. But I think that happens with all art. Like, I think artists go into it one way. And I try to teach this to my students, but ultimately we don't control the value. The minute like the viewer sees it and they decide it means something and they rally an audience behind that, then that's what it means. Art means whatever the viewer chooses. So do what's in your head. Just don't not do it. Don't not do it.
That's great advice. Here's your next question from Vivian. She says, you have grown so very much and I'm proud of you. What a legacy for your daughter. You have our attention for sure in this community. What should we look from you next?
So, all right. So shouts out to all the artists who are a part of this installation. Like Keith Haring has always been, man, like like if there were a Keith Haring elementary through university, I would have never gone to another school. Like there's something about simplicity in art that really drives me. So that's, you know, you can see that in my own work, but like just kind of looking at the complexities of all, like I really felt like I needed to step my game up putting this installation up. So I've been kind of in my color cave at home trying to figure out how to kind of remix what I'm doing to go into like just bigger and different style projects.
That's exciting.
Yeah, scary.
I want to, let's see. Sarah says, glad to see you are following your art dreams. I remember the racism you faced in college. How can I help?
Keep being a good person. That's how anybody can help. Listen, sorry, I think I got real aggressive with that. Don't be a dick. It's not hard to be good to another person. That's how people can help. Stop looking at racism like it's a political thing. Stop trying to fight an entire system. Like, you approach people the same way. Everything your kindergarten teacher told you. Yeah. Like, you know, even if somebody has a differing opinion from you, or you see like stuff that you don't like on internet or Facebook, all that time you spend complaining, that's time you could spend changing. Like, so activate the most like optimistic, positive, hopeful parts of yourself in all times. That's my best advice.
That's great advice. Oh, here's the question that we've all been waiting for. What is the story behind HP Fangs?
So HP Fangs came from, like, I had like wild big teeth as a kid. I mean, I think they're still big now. But like I had very like pronounced four fronts and like long bangs, and had those like bow down. And that was like when when you're clowning with your friends or whatever, that would always be the thing that I got, kind of picked on for. And so when like I started like drawing big teeth on people's faces in the yearbook, and I had just always loved exaggerated smiles, so all my characters always had it. And then it wasn't until maybe like 4 years ago or 5 years ago, somebody was like, "Hey, aren't you like the teeth guy? Like the teeth guy?" And I was like, I guess I am. Because before that, I was going by butt biters, because everything I was drawing had a butt in it. And but like the teeth were always a big part of my work. Mm-hmm. And HP just was Haji P when I was rapper, right. And Fangs, HP Fangs.
Got it.
It had a lot to do with just like having a real jacked up mouth.
Okay, you're getting so many questions right now. Let's see if I can read all these things. You talked about finding hope again through this project. Where will you find hope going forward?
Everywhere. I look for it in all things and everything. There's not a place I don't. If I can't find hope in a place, I will find a place to put hope. And it's an active search. It's not an easy one. So I'm not going to pretend like, oh yeah, I walk on a rainbow of lilies and cream of wheat breakfast every morning. It's not like I have to look for it, but I choose to look for it. And I think that's what you have to want. You have to choose to look for it.
So I'm going to ask this question, and I know that there are other questions too that need to get asked, but I think you've shown us that you have this strength, right? This internal strength, this resilience. And it's not easy. And a lot of people don't have that. And so I'm wondering, what's your source? Where did it come from? Is it your grandfather? Is it art? Is it music? Is it someone in your past? Like, what gives you this amazing ability to almost, it's the smile and destroy. It's like you're gonna fight to find the hope.
So it's two-part. It's a two-part thing. It's a two-part thing, but it's a major one-part thing. My daughter, that's 100% everything. Man, have y'all seen my daughter? God, dog, she's dope. She's hilarious. She's weird, cute. She's just the best thing that has ever happened to what? Yes. No, I'm 100% living for my daughter. The other answer to that is the Muppet Show. Like I I can't express how much I love. Jim Henson has a quote. Oh my God, I don't want to misquote it, but look it up because it's one of my favorites. It's like at the end, everything either gets eaten or blown up. Like you either eat it or blow up. But the second part is like, so like use the show wisely, make the best show, something. But it was like, because at the end, everything is eaten or blown up. And so just kind of knowing that everything is going to get eaten or blown up, I'm going to have the best show of my life. But yeah, my daughter, if we just need a battery, my freaking daughter.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I understand completely. Okay, so Jen asked, how long have you been doing art and what kind of art supplies do you use?
Jen, I will tell you in class. But that's unfair because other people might have that question. So wait, what was the question before? What type of supplies do I use?
Yes. She wants to know how long you've been doing art.
I've been actively and seriously doing art, and this is why my daughter's kind of the battery. I've been actively doing art since she was born.
Oh wow!
Because I was rapping, I was making music, and like I don't want to be like, yeah, your dad's a rapper. Like I don't want to rap with my daughter. I want to draw with my daughter. I want to have like, I don't want her to be listening to my songs. I want her to like share artwork with me. So she just turned 5, so I've been doing art seriously for 5 years, but I've been drawing and making art, man, since I was a kid. Yeah. So the art, the supplies that I use, like my go-to is like alcohol paint, alcohol markers, because I'm an illustrator. Yeah. You know, so it's my go-to jam. I use other stuff, but my daily tools are alcohol markers and liner pens.
Awesome. Greyson, thank you so much. Thank you for talking with us tonight. And thank you everyone who came tonight. We are so glad that you were here, and we hope you'll come by the Cameron Art Museum and see the exhibitions that are currently up. And hopefully Greyson will come back and teach for us when we can have classes in person again, and do some more chalk drawing for us.
I love you, Jen. I'm watching your questions pop up, Jen. I love you to death. Yeah, guys, I like whoever showed up, y'all could have been doing way cooler things than listening to me ramble. So I do want to say thank you, and hopefully, I don't know if I like offered any new perspective or insight or whatever, but I just hope I didn't waste your time.
Greyson, thank you so much. Everyone have a great night. We'll see you later.
Peace out.
Bye.